What's going on, travelers? It's Ricky Ventures and Marlon Madden, and we're back with you for another episode of the Success Journey Show. What's going on, bro? How you doing today?
Yo, I'm relaxing, chilling like a villain. I haven't done a 9 to 5 in a long time.
Oh man, you don't feel exhausted, man?
When I was coming home, I was driving back. I was there. I'm doing this course right now on government stuff, and I was there 8:30 till 5, and I was like, man, sitting in a classroom from 8:30 to 5 is no joke.
Yeah,
that's worse than sitting at work.
Leaving the house dark, coming back dark.
Dark, yeah, man.
No. It's crazy how quickly, I won't say quickly, but since the pandemic, I have not been in the office myself. It's been working from home, go to the clients, going to my office every once in a while. It's been a
yeah.
But it's nothing where I have to be out every single day and everything. And looking at my life now, I'm like, I don't think I couldn't do it right now. There's no way I can do it right now. It's just not even about the desire not wanting to do it, but just the logistics of how everything flows in my life right now. This is the best way, and I'm more efficient and effective.
Yes.
Doing it this way, so I'm extremely grateful for it. I was thinking about it this week. Man, really blessed to be able to say, hey, I work from home. Prior to this, I wouldn't even know what work from home really meant.
Yeah.
Right? I always, I love to work from home. I work from home 1 day a week or 2 days a week. Oh, 1 month, 1 day at a month. But now it's like, this is what I do every single day.
Yeah. You get downstairs and you go to your office downstairs.
Yeah. And that's it, right? And I mean, but one of my friends said something to me though. He said, Rick, man, where do you spend? Where's the place in your house where you just relax, man? It's your relaxing place. You just sit back and just relax. And I was like, man, I only sit in my office, and then I maybe sit down at the dinner table and eat, and then I go to my room and go to bed.
I don't sit in my living room. No. I don't really watch TV. I just tell everyone I just cut off I cut off my cable. I don't watch TV. I don't sit down to watch TV. I mean, this helps because I sit in my bed and I catch up on it. If I did, I'm missing basketball shows now because we're doing the show.
Yeah.
But I'll watch it a 9-minute edited version of the whole game.
Yeah.
And that'll be it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to designate 2 hours for the game.
Dude, I mean, we can talk about this all and over. I mean, I do the same thing now. I don't remember the last time I watched a full game of any.
I can tell you when the Lakers' first game back the other day, and I wish I'd never watched it.
Oh man, no. I started watching the beginning of that when the Warriors-Lakers, because I wanted to see the ring ceremony for the Warriors and everything. And right after that ceremony was done, I was done. Woke up and the game was gone. No, but no, dude. It's travelers were doing great, doing well. And we're really just excited about just some things that are shaping up for us, just personally, financially, business wise, everything around. And not to say everything is perfectly going well. Like with everything that we're doing, there's always challenges, right? And I always say, but I see challenges a little bit differently now. It's like, you can get down for a second, but then it's like, all right, how do I figure this thing out? Like, how do I figure this out? And you start building that muscle memory of just starting to figure things out, knowing that if you put that energy to try to figure it out, something will happen. And then you just keep moving forward. So man, definitely blessed to be able to do that. Do that with a solid partner, Marlon, here as well.
Yes. Yes. Likewise.
Yeah.
Hey, this episode, I really want you guys to lock in on this episode. I'm real excited. We say it all the time, but listen, we are trying to, I'm going to say it just outright. What I need you guys to do is, if you enjoy our program, try to get 5 others to subscribe. Share it. Just don't like it. Just share it. Subscribe. Leave a comment. I know sometimes you guys, if me and Ricky was up here doing these TikTok dances, you'd have left a comment. I don't know if you want to leave a comment about that, right? How bad I dance, but just do that. And the reason why I want to do this is because we want to combat the negativity that's out there. But we can't combat that negativity if we're not being shown, right? If people are not seeing us. So we want you to be, we just want to be intentional and tell you we appreciate you being part of our show. The successjourneyshow.com is the website you could do for everything. We're all our handles, Success Journey Show. But get five of your friends to subscribe and share it. Share this episode, especially this one. Once you hear this one, you're definitely going to want to share it with at least 5 or 10 of your friends.
You know, and in the past we would put like, oh, you'll get a T-shirt, get a bag, and but a lot of people didn't really. Some people did it. Most people didn't do it. So this time we're not gonna give you anything, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that will motivate you to do it. But yeah, guys, share this thing, man. We enjoy talking with each other and learning from these guests. But man, there's so much information that we have a conversation with people. We're like, man, you should listen to my guest on my show. Like, this is exactly what he was talking about or she was talking about. So listen, man, we're going to jump right into it.
Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Hey, travelers, we are back with you for our favorite segment of the show. And we say this every single week, but it truly is our favorite segment. Marlon and I get to meet some impressive individuals, guests that are on our show to spend some time with us. And you as our travelers just sharing their journeys with us. And today we have none other than Bob Wheeler. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Oh, man.
Yes,
it's our honor, man. It's our privilege to have you here with us. Why don't you start off our show today just telling all of our travelers just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am a CPA by trade, have my own CPA tax practice with about 1,000 clients. I am CFO of the world famous Comedy Store in Hollywood. And then I've written a couple of books. I wrote a book called The Money Nerve about money and emotions, which we all have, even if we don't know it. And then I recently started a children's book series on financial literacy. The first one is Darius Wants a Dog, and it basically talks about foundational skills to help kids to start to learn about it in hopefully a fun way. So I've just and the journey continues. So who knows where it ends.
Now, does that book lead the kids to have a dog at the end of it? Or
well, I'm going to give away the ending. Darius does not get a dog.
Okay.
His choice.
Okay.
His choice.
All right, good. Right? All right, I need to I can get that book now. See, my kids have been harassing me about getting a dog, and I just have not been able to just succumb to the request. There's something about it to where I don't want to take care. I'm too busy right now. I can't take care of dogs, right? It's just like
that's why you got to put it on them, and that's what Darius. His parents put it on him. He realizes I don't want to pay for this dog. I don't want to be responsible. And given the facts, I think I'll wait.
Yeah, exactly. I told my sons, I said, hey, you know what? I will get you a dog when you have somewhere to take it and you can be with the dog and have your own house, man. I will buy you a dog. I promise I'll buy you a dog.
Exactly. It's not fair to the dog.
No, exactly. And I love it, man. Trust me, I already have my dog picked out that I want. A little bit later, when I know I have some time to, chill with the dog, right? So I love dogs. Yeah. So, but yeah, I digress, man. No, thanks so much, man. Bob, Marlon and I. Marlon is a financial guru himself, and I love the finance stuff. And Marlon, he thinks so hard about it, he pulled his hair out. So, so every time we get a guest on the show, man, around the finances, we both get super excited. I would say this year has been a journey for me financially, wanting to really make some sound financial decisions that will, as a foundational things that will reap the benefits years to come, right?
Yeah.
And so really been doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of digging, talking to a lot of people like yourself. So really highly interested just to hear your story. And we want to talk about it from even just the beginning. Like what drove Bob to, just talk about money?
Well, so yeah, I actually wanted to be a lawyer so I could make lots of money and sue people for money.
There
Uh,
you go.
so my whole trek since I was a kid was I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. Uh, then I met some lawyers while I was in college, and I thought,
Nah.
I don't really want to hang out with these people. And then I realized at the time I wasn't that comfortable getting up and talking. So I thought, well, this isn't going to be a good fit if I have to stand up in court and talk and trip over my own tongue. So that's not going to work out. Accounting was just something that came easy that I was doing to help my grade point average. Right. So I was like, it's too easy to actually make money at it because you have to work hard to make money. And so it can't be fun. Money was just something that was like, okay, I can do this pretty well. Now, I personally wasn't following the advice that I started giving other clients, right? I was, I think I got into money because I didn't know a lot about money. My parents knew nothing about money. They told me nothing about money. I had my own money stories. And so I wasn't saving, I wasn't investing. And then I sort of went on this journey as my clients were coming to me and doing the exact opposite of what seemed like sound advice. I realized, man, they got a story going on. So I need to understand their story before I can help them. So we're on the same page. And so I was doing my own reflection. I was working with clients, asking them questions that sort of turned into therapy sessions. And even still, when I got into accounting, it was just to learn about other businesses so I could start my own business. I didn't plan on having a business as a tax accountant, right? I'm like, no. I'm not, numbers are not my thing. But it's obviously it's worked out well for me. As I was doing that, I had to, of course, make side money. So I was doing stand-up comedy because that, really pays. And and I got a call from Mitzi Shore, the owner of the Comedy Store, one day, and she's like, Bob, you got to help me out. We're having trouble. And they were about $100,000 behind in payroll taxes. The IRS was like, seriously, we're going to close the doors. And I was like, well, my friends are comics. I love this place. So I jumped in and they won't let me go. Every time I quit, they're like, no, you have to stay. So I started doing that.
Wow. They force you, they put you on a payroll, send you a W-2 and make you have to pay taxes.
That's right. It's terrible. It's terrible. But, but being at the store was helpful because I knew I wanted to help the club. They couldn't pay me a lot. So I had to make sure my accounting practice was really successful so I could put in the time and energy. And actually, because I was at the store and talking to comics and people that had a lot of shame around picking their passion over money. And so I realized, man, everybody thinks that they're the only one that made a really bad choice financially. And they're punishing themselves for the rest of their lives for something they did when they were 20 or 25. And nobody talks about it, right? We're not like, hey guys, I've got $50,000 in debt. Man, that bankruptcy was that fun, right? We just don't share that information. And so that's what prompted me to end up writing a book and starting to do workshops around money and emotions, because a lot of people just think 2 + 2 is 4. But how do you feel about that, right? Because if have limited income, maybe I'm angry, or maybe I'm depressed, or I'm overwhelmed. And so maybe I'm making decisions just because I feel like it's what I need to survive instead of thrive. And so I just really got interested in this money and emotions and financial literacy. And how do we start to normalize conversations around money? Because if I'm talking to my spouse or my partner or my kids, and I have a belief about investing or saving, then I might not pass on good information to them. I might just pass on my story, and they're going to think I'm telling them the truth. And so starting to have these conversations so that then we can go out and invest and save and know that it's okay, and know that I don't have to put away $5 million every year. Hey, put away $50 a month. Just start somewhere. Start, right?
Oh man, I love how you said that. Finances and emotions, right? Because some of the most wealthiest people and some of the poorest people all has some type of level of emotional tie to money, right?
Absolutely.
Regardless of where you fall on that scale. And sometimes I know growing up in my early adulthood, I would equate money with value,
Right.
personal
For
value,
sure. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So
Right.
if I didn't have a lot of money, then I'm not as valuable, as a man, as a provider, and things of that
That's right.
nature. And I can imagine the conversations that you had with people, just hearing different things around that nature. And how did you? And I know you CPA, not necessarily a therapist, but how did you kind of talk through or have those conversations with those individuals of like really kind of level setting with them, say, hey, let's talk about this emotional aspect of and relationship you have with money.
Well, I think initially, because a lot of my clients are creative types, they're more willing to share
Oh
information.
yeah. The
So
creative
clients
guy.
would say, I know you're judging me. I'm like, what? Like, you must think I'm the worst client ever. And I was able to say, I've actually made some of the same mistakes you have. They're like, what? Right.
Yeah.
So I was able to open that. And actually, I am actually certified in somatic therapy, body-based therapy.
Oh, there we
And so
go.
that helped give me
Yes.
some languaging as well to have these conversations.
I
But
like that.
I realized, yeah, that if I couldn't start to figure out what was going on for them, and I was willing to share what had gone on for me and all my missteps, it helped people be more open and more vulnerable, so that we could then figure out, all right, how do we now, given this information, how do we work forward? Right?
Mm,
Because the other piece to it is, you may have made some choices that weren't maybe the best choice, but there might have also been outside sources working against you, right? The bank might have been working against you. There's a lot of pieces in the system that work against certain communities or against certain genders. And so if you think it's personal, but there's actually outside forces working against you, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because no matter how
Yeah.
right you do it, you're not going to get ahead.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, you talk about financial literacy, right? And
Mhm.
we hear that term just being thrown around, and a lot of people don't. So let me give you a quick of what happened to me today, sitting down at lunch, talking to a young lady. And she said, I just, after 20 years, I'm just now paying off my student loan. And I said, I asked her how much was her student loan. She told me 50,000, but then she was paying 10 years. And then she went into this program where they'll help you pay it off in 10 years, but they wouldn't calculate what you paid the first 10 years. So she was all a mess, but somebody that she called helped her out, and she actually figured it out. And then she actually finally got a chance to pay off her student loan, right?
Yeah.
And I asked her a question. I was like, so what? And I'm trying to figure this out for myself. I think Ricky is. I don't know how old your kids are. What do we know, like, if you take out, to go to college is something that is pushed in society. We know that to get ahead, you have to have that degree. That's what's pushed.
Right.
With that financial literacy, how do you get out of a system, right, that says that you have to do exactly the opposite of what real financial literacy is?
Yeah.
When a client comes to you and say, hey, I want to be financially literate, and they're talking about, and I don't want to down nobody for their 401k, they're talking about the regular construct of how finance is. And you start giving them the financial literacy. What do you push? What do you tell them? What kind of systems are you putting them to help them get out of that old system?
Well, first of all, I ask people, what do you want? Like, what do you want and why do you want it?
Yeah.
Right? Because if I don't know what they want and why they want it, well, all my friends are doing it, so it must be the right thing. Or, well, because it looks really cool. Or I want to be flashy. Whatever, it doesn't matter what the reason is, but I need to understand, why do you think you need to do that? Right?
Yes.
So once I know why somebody needs to do it, I might ask them, why don't you have it? What are you willing to do to have it? Are you willing to change your mindset? Are you willing to take a second job? Are you willing to downsize your house? Like, because a lot of people, they want to have the benefits. They don't really want to do the work because it's not that much fun. And so I have to get in there with a cost benefit analysis. What's it costing you at not moving into what you say you want? Right. There's a benefit. I get to feel comfortable. I don't have to fail. The cost is my life, my passion, my future. And so I try to have conversations with people about what do they want. It's not that everybody must have a 401k. Everybody doesn't have to have real estate. There are some people, I'll meet them and like they really should have a business, but after I talk to them, creating a corporation is going to cause more stress. So it's probably not worth the $5,000 they save, So like I have to understand each person rather than it's a blanket statement. Everybody should save 10%. It'd be ideal if people were saving 10 or 15%. It'd be ideal if people were contributing 10% to charity and things like that. But for me, it's to be really curious about what they want and then talk about those foundational pieces. Find out why are you afraid to save? Or what's your belief system that you got to spend it now because we're all going to die tomorrow? Or whatever the story might be, because it's driving them. Even if they're not admitting it. Like for many years, I was making decisions based on everything was going to kill me, right? And that sounds dramatic, but I had experienced a lot of trauma. So somebody would say, hey, do you want to have lunch or go say hi to that person? I'd be like, will this kill me? Internally, right? Outside, I'm like, yeah. But inside, I'm like completely freaking out. Yeah. And there's a lot of people I think out there that don't want anybody to know. They present really well, but inside they're a complete mess. And the more I can create a space for people to actually talk about those things, you can still move forward. You can still move forward scared. You can still move forward with your voice shaking, move forward, right? And nobody ever told me that. So I was just like, well, I can't do it perfectly, so I'll just stay in the background.
So it all comes down to that. I could see the underlying tone that you're saying is that emotion. That emotion really affects, because if you feel like Ricky was saying, if my belief is I'm less than a man or I'm not valued because I don't have that big bank account right now, that will show in my decision making in all different, and it could lead into other parts of life. If you're married, it bleeds into your marriage. If you're your work environment, you so I see how the emotions just tie into everything. Now, man, I like some of the things you said before, because a lot of times we don't want to talk so you made a statement that certain people, which I don't, if you didn't notice, Rick and I are black.
I did not notice. This is a shock. Give me a moment.
I'm taking it all in here.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, Bob.
It's good to be transparent. I appreciate that.
So I know when you say certain people in certain communities don't have that opportunity. Yeah. Expound on that, and so they can understand what you're really talking about, so they will understand how to navigate through that emotion once they encounter it.
So if I go to the banking and redlining, real estate, there are a lot of people in LA that are shocked to know that Blacks and Hispanics couldn't buy in certain neighborhoods. Even though it wasn't expressed outwardly, everybody in the business knew not to approve these loans. Loans with a name that didn't look like, Buffy Smith may not get the loan. Yeah. And so you're sitting there driving yourself crazy, because I'm like, okay, I got my credit score. I've done this. So I have a client who is actually Italian, but she married a Latino man. So now her name is Latino. So everybody thinks she's Latino, right? So she's like, wow, now that everybody thinks I'm Latino, it's amazing what people say to me, which is really pretty disrespectful. But her credit was really bad, right? Her credit was bad. And she blamed herself because she knew I've been irresponsible. But after about 3 years of being really good, she called me and she said, Bob, I have been so good and my credit score still sucks. And I said, well, get your credit score and let's take a look. Well, it turned out a bank in Michigan was funding a false loan for somebody else that had used her social, and the bank knew about it. And so she's got this mortgage on her credit. Well, she just assumed because she was poorer and not taking care of things that it was all her fault, when in fact it had nothing to do with her, right? So she had a story, I deserve this. And so if you either believe you deserve it, or you go into places where, and let's face it, most financial institutions have a lot of white older men, there may not be a wide welcome. And so now I may not want to go in, or I may feel judged. I may not feel safe. And so, you know what? I'll just put it under my mattress. I'm not going to go in and experience, you know, the passive aggressive racism, the socialized racism that everybody's pretending like doesn't exist, but I'm feeling it. I'm not crazy. And so if you know that going in, you can say, okay, great. What are my rights? Or let me find somebody that feels a little more comfortable to me, because there are companies out there. And so you can look at banks and see what is their outreach to other communities. You know, Bank of America just did this new program to help Black and Hispanic communities, right? Well, the pessimistic side of me is like, what's their angle? Right? How are they?
I thought the same thing when I heard it. You're right.
How are they going to sneak the fees back to these people instead of actually using it as part of their outreach program? Like, really, what's in it for them? Because most banks and most corporations are angling to make money. If you get some money too, that's great.
They're making money.
But they're there to separate you from your money.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so it's so important to just know and have that awareness of thinking, man, something doesn't feel right. Or that's not the way my friend had the experience, and they happen to be from a different culture. So just actually even paying attention to that, and then realizing that that has nothing to do with you personally, but it feels very personal.
Man, I got to share this story with the listeners and yourself, Bob, because what you just said resonates with me so much. I don't even think I ever shared this with Marlon either. So there were times in growing up, I'm talking about in my adult life, where I didn't have much money in the bank. So when you go in there, like, you have a posture of your head just like kind of hanging low, right? You know, it's like, you know, oh man, you know, feeling like, you know, well, I got a little bit in there, you know, whatever. Let me go in there. They ask you if you want to have a bank appointments. You're like, why you want a bank appointment with me? I don't have no money. I don't have no money in here. Like, what are you going to tell me? Like, you're going to magically give me some money, right? And then I remember times years ago, a few years back, when, you know, you do have some in there, and it's just the confidence that you walk in with now is like, oh yeah, okay, let's go. Let's have these conversations. But I remember, right, when, you know, I walk in and me and my other business partner, we might share this one. I don't know if you even recognize this at all, but you know, Black man, he's a white older gentleman, and we're in the bank, and I went in first, and the teller is, and the bank rep there, and not giving me the time of day.
Yeah.
I mean, rushing me, saying I don't have the right paperwork, I don't have this, and I know my stuff, right? So I'm like, yeah, I do. That is the right stuff. Actually, that paper is defined as the same thing you're talking about. Turn to the back. Everything is here, right? Just giving me just the runaround. This stuff that didn't make any sense. I'm like, what are you talking about here? And then my partner walks in, and the whole tone changes.
Yeah.
Completely. Like, oh, what can we give you? What do you want today? How can we help you? And it's like, man, like you said, there's things that are so much that are out of your control.
Yeah.
Even when you do walk in, like I was feeling good. I was like, oh man, got some money here. I'm doing some good things. Things are starting to happen, right? Instead of having 2 + 2 = 4, I have maybe 20 + 20 = 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got myself some $40 in there, you know? So, it's, you know, but still, there are a lot of things that you can't control. And you still have to deal with those things too.
You do.
How do you share with a lot of the people that you work with? You say you have over 1,000 clients that you're working with. I mean, I know you must be super busy. There's that number alone. And tell us a little bit about the range of your clientele in terms of, are you looking at, individuals that are, just kind of getting started, people that are more established, people that are, well off, and you're more as like a financial advisor and a CPA, all that kind of stuff for them? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show. You can check us out on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Also on our website, thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, so most of my clients are entrepreneurs. They're either starting out or they've been established. Although I have several older clients that I wouldn't let go anywhere else because I think they'll be taken advantage of. And so I have my certain number of people that I help out, even though monetarily I'm not making bank on it because it's nice to make bank, but that's not my whole goal. But most of my clients, are making, netting 100,000, 200, 500,000. They're grossing anywhere in their businesses from, 200,000 to 2 million, $3 million. And so I'm working with small business owners, and really where I help them out is tax strategies, tax planning, planning ahead before the year is over, not after the year is over. And I don't do a lot of, I can't tell people go buy Coke or stock, and in case you meant the drink or the powder, but
it's like, it's over for you. Buy some Coke.
Buy Coke.
I forgot that you're a comedian.
It was a bad choice. I into it. So, I can tell people, buy penny stocks because you can buy them really cheap. And if they pan out, you can make a lot of money. I can tell people, you should have some in real estate and have a little bit of this and that, but I can't tell you should buy 10% silver and get into specifics. I do send those to other people. But I weigh in on it when people tell me what they're doing. But, mainly I really try to help people keep money in their pockets. And then also because we're all human, some of my clients tend to self-sabotage. And so if I can find ways to help them beat themselves at their own game, either automated savings, putting them on payroll with just a small amount and withholding all of it, so their taxes are covered at the end of the year, like little tricks that they don't notice, but at the end of the year, it's got a cumulative effect.
So I actually, this question and follow up to that, at what point does that entrepreneur, should they be bringing you on? Like, because you have different levels, right? You have these people that's, I'm inspiring to, be an entrepreneur, and I'm, just starting everything off. I may be making a couple $1,000s, a month or whatever it may be. Don't know if I should have somebody looking over this for me, or, if I should just do it myself on TurboTax or whatever it may be. Like, at what point do you start seeing those entrepreneurs start working with you?
Well, I think if you're going to start a business, working with somebody in the profession is pretty important. Now, that doesn't mean you can always afford it, but it's super important. I worked with a client who they had like $2 million worth of funding. They went out and they spent a couple $100,000 in accounting software. They had a special deal with FedEx exclusive, and I kept saying, "Hey, before you spend this $2 million, why don't you see if you have customers?" Like, we can always do the cleanup later, right? Like, let's get the money in, and then you have the money to pay me to like clean it up. No. Well, the business failed because it turns out they were selling high-end salt, and nobody was buying.
Salt.
Salt on the wound, I guess. But it's like they didn't bother to check out that their model was working. And so they would have been like, had they listened to me and actually just gone out and focused on sales and target markets and all those things, the rest could all be fixed after the fact. But sitting down, it's amazing how many people leave tax dollars on the table instead of bringing it home because they didn't bother to ask somebody, or they just made an assumption and didn't bother to check it out. And so that's where I'm able to come in with a lot of people and show them, look, we can save another $10,000 or $50,000, or, here's a trick you didn't know. And and really help people so that they're and so that they're learning as well, right? I don't want it to be that, well, I can only do something if Bob tells me yes or no. I want them also to learn what the process is and sort of what the rules are. Because you may not like the game, but if you don't know the rules, you can't play the game effectively. And at the end of the day, we're all having to play a game, like it or not.
Like it or not. And
like it or not.
Before I do my follow-up, my question in line with Ricky, I could tell you're a man after my own heart, because when I look behind you, I see you have an Oscar and I see you have some African cichlids.
They're the best fish in the world, man.
There you go.
They're beautiful and tough.
Yeah, they're beautiful and tough. They're beautiful and tough. And some people would even argue you can't put that Oscar with that cichlid, but it works. It works.
Sometimes you got to start with them small, and then they all decide to like each other.
Yeah. I love it. Hey, so now say I have an LLC, and I've already established I have an LLC probably 4 years. And now I'm starting to make some big money, and I say, hey, you know what happened? Man, I was at the comedy club. They were telling a lot of jokes. And I went to pick up a drink, and somebody was talking to me, and they said, you know who would be a good CPA for you, man? Bob. And I said, okay, hey, I want to come over to Bob. And now you look at their finance and everything like that. When do you tell somebody, hey, you have an LLC, but you should file as an S corp, or you should file that? When do you talk to somebody about making that transition? And maybe what's the dollar amount that you look at, or what are some of the things that you look at to make that decision?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of times when I have people starting out, I'll push them towards an LLC because we can still file a Schedule C on the 1040, right?
Correct.
All good. Especially if I've got losses or breaking even, maybe I'm making $100 or I'm making 20 or 30,000 bucks, but I also have a W-2, right? So I'm not worried about self-employment tax, right? Because I'm always thinking about self-employment tax. So if somebody's got an LLC and now all of a sudden they're making $50,000 net profit, or anytime somebody's making over $100,000 gross, I'm starting to look at, do I want to move this into an S corp? The main reason I want to get into an S corp is I can limit my payroll tax, right? I can cut that in half and all that stuff. Plus, when I become an S corp or a pass-through entity, 20% of that K1 income is potentially exempt from income tax.
Okay.
Right. So now I want to make sure my K1 is a little bit bigger when I switch it to the S corp. The other reason I might do it is my client's a little sloppy with stuff. They're a creative person and they estimate some of the numbers. S corp is the least audited tax return across the board. I want to get into an S corp as soon as possible and just take them off the radar. But my main reason to do stuff is really to avoid that self-employment tax, so I can limit it by putting them on a salary. And yeah, there starts to be a few more steps involved. Now, I have some clients that will spend 800 hours to save $50, not me. And then I have people, that would spend $5,000 rather than put in 10 hours of work. You got to find the balance. There's certain things I'd rather just, I'll pay that. That's easier. I don't want to do that work. But for the most part, when it comes to taxes and money and saving, man, I'm going to do whatever I can without killing myself to really do the strategies. And an S corp is just one of the best tax strategies when you're making money. But I have clients that they're losing $200,000-$300,000 for the first 3 or 4 years. I don't want to make them an S corp. I don't want to have to deal with the extra compliance. Just stay the course, do the LLC. And then, we monitor. I'll tell them like, this might be the year.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's a very good. Now, I also want to ask with that, because I see a lot of people, they like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not your CPA, man. I'm just talking from what I read, and I didn't go through that hard class. I heard that their CPA class is no joke. Totally fun.
It's totally fun. Everybody should do it. Yeah.
So
once.
So now that I do my taxes, if I want to show the bank, if I want to get loans from banks and they're going to look up my tax returns, how should I, some people, I want to know, some people just think, I want to take all these losses. I want to always show them at a loss. I want to show them a loss. And then now they're going into the bank and they're saying,
Yep.
hey, I need a loan from you. Can you explain to our travelers out there how that affects them and how they should stack the cards in order to help them when they walk into that bank?
Yeah, that's a great question. So unless you're a multimillionaire, you're either filing your taxes to save money or you're filing taxes to get a loan. Like they do not coexist. And the banks will check to make sure that you actually filed that tax return. So you can't say, look, I made $500,000 and your tax return says you made 20. Because that ship don't sail. It's like not going to happen. I've got a client, they were selling their business. They want to sell it for $700,000, $800,000. Books showed $300,000 or $400,000. They're like, we don't want to show any profit. I'm like, well, nobody's going to, first of all, nobody's going to buy your business.
Correct.
If you're going to file tax returns saying you made no money, then how can anybody believe your financial statements? Because they don't line up. It's one or the other. You want to sell your business for $800,000? You need to show a tax return that supports that. And so a lot of times people, now I know, I'll say, are you going to try and get a loan this year? Or are you trying to save money? Because what would happen is they'd say, save me every dime, save them lots of money. They'd come back and go, great, now I can't buy a house. Thanks, Bob. Well, you didn't ask me to buy you a house. You asked me to save you taxes. It's one or the other. And the IRS and the banks, they know better. They're going to check it out because they didn't used to do that. And people would show $1 million on their tax return, right?
Yeah, no doc loans, right?
No doc loans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't work out so well.
It didn't work out so well. 2008 proved it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
It's a as we're talking through this, it's always man, I'm trying to figure out the best way to frame this. You say you have workshops and books that you do. Tell us a little, because I'm really intrigued about what you're sharing here, and all this information. And I would love to be like, hey, here, Bob, here's my whole thing, man. What the heck should I do, right? Because there's so many different books, there's so many different materials out there, there's so many different methodologies, different strategies, and some people, are just all over the place. Hey, we have a financial strategy from the Ramsey family. We got a financial strategy from the Kiyosaki family.
Grant Cardone.
From Cardone's. And there's so much. Kiyosaki, Kiyosaki family.
It's good stuff. It's all good stuff.
And it's all good. It works for people all around, right?
Right.
It's proven. But you have an individual that comes in and is like, all right, I'm trying to get my financial house in order. Where do I go?
Yeah. Well, again, for me, and look, there are lots of people out there that can help shame you into a behavior, or all kinds of just do this and don't think, and you'll get ahead. And that works for some people. For me, I don't want people doing something because I've shamed them. And I don't want people just doing things blindly because there might be a slight change in the algorithm and then they don't know to switch
shift.
lanes, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know to pivot. And then now I've just sent them down a rabbit hole. So for me, if I can understand people's mindset, if I understand what they really want out of this, do they want to have legacy? Do they want to have generational wealth? Do they want to put their kids through college? Like, I need to understand what their personal desires are, not what their parents want them to do, not what their friends said they should do. So that once I can get clear about that, then I can actually figure out for them specifically what might make sense. Because, I've had a couple clients, I'm like, you should get into real estate. And they're like, yeah, my dad did real estate. It sucked. Well, I'm not going to spend weeks and months and years trying to convince them to do real estate. And then I got into real estate and went, man, I hate this. So I went back to the clients. I was like, I totally understand. I was almost ready to cross a line because I was so frustrated with some properties. And I thought, you need to get out of this. You're not going to become a nice person. Right. So it's trying to figure out what it is for each person, because real estate might be your thing, but it might not be single dwellings. It might be commercial property, or it might be fourplexes. And so it's not that there's a one size fits all.
Correct.
It's really figuring out
what works.
Am I trying to leave a legacy? Am I trying to, take care of my grandmother? Am I trying, like, what are my goals? What are my life values?
Yeah.
And then we can set our goals according to
what those values are.
So that when I'm spending money and I'm at the bar and I'm going to pay for everybody, wait a minute. This could go towards a college plan. This could go towards a house payment. Maybe you guys can buy your own drinks. Right?
Yeah,
it starts to change your mind.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, we can go so many directions with that, right? So when you talk about legacy, generational wealth, what is your definition of just legacy general wealth?
And what do you want in their portfolio?
Yeah, what do you want? Yeah. If you could singularly define it, it's almost a leading question. But what would you say general wealth is? Generational wealth and legacy.
Well, it's like if I'm going to leave generational wealth, I also want to do it in a responsible way so that I don't have a bunch of gimme people that then don't know how to go out and empower themselves, right? I don't want to just go, hey, I'm going to make lots of money in real estate and I'm just going to give it to you to blow through it in a generation or two. For me, legacy is, what is the impact I want to leave behind? It might be that I want to create a foundation. It might be that I want to, create a nonprofit organization. It may be that I want to set up real estate for my children and people, that come after. And so it's about what's the impact that I want to have, right? When I'm dead and I'm buried, Bob who, right? And so how do I then make an impact if I do? And I think actually, I believe that all of us, even the most hardened, angriest person in the world, I think deep down, we all want to have an impact on the world. I think we all want to be in connection. And I think we all want to be in community. And so I think we all deep down want to make the world a better place. That's my hope. And that's my belief. And so when I'm looking at that for people is, how do you want to impact the world? What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want it to be that you've created a foundation for financial literacy? Do you want to create a national reserve for horses? Do you want to just make sure that your kids and grandkids and great grandkids are set up with a real estate trust, right? And so it's not that it's the same thing for everybody. I mean, certainly real estate is great because when it passes on, at least based on current tax law, there's a stepped up basis. So if I buy a house for $50,000 and it turns into $2 million 20 years down the line, kids are going to get a $2 million stepped up basis instead of the 50,000. That's huge. Yes. And so those, I had a client came to me and said, look, I'm going to put my name on my parents' house. So we don't have to deal with anything. Their parents bought a house for $50,000 that was worth $2 million. I was like, stop. If you do that, you're going to owe $1 million in tax.
Yes.
They're like, what?
Yes.
One little signature. They did not know. Right. And so those kinds of things, real estate, appreciable assets are amazing in terms of passing them forward. And again, making sure, have you set up a trust? I've had clients that inherited $5-6 million and they're like, you know what? I'm not going to set it up. The people that get it from me, they can figure it out themselves. Well, that's just sort of not, it's a little disrespectful. I mean, yeah, it's great you left them the money, but you also left them the cleanup.
Yes.
Get your financial affairs in order as best you can. And if you can't do it yourself, find somebody that'll help you. But if you want to invest, and I know for a lot of communities, generational wealth feels like impossible, right? Inflation hits. Oh my God, I'm stretched to the max. I'll never get ahead. Every time I'm going to get a break, there's a hiccup to the economy. And then we just reaffirm, I can't get ahead. Why bother? Let's go. I'll buy the drinks, right? Because at least I can forget about it. Yeah. So for me, legacy is about figuring out how I want to impact the world, whether I want it to be for my children, whether I want it to be for the community at large, and then setting things into play so that I can have that outcome. And again, with kids, it's, I know a lot of people that have wealth will say to their kids when the kids will say, I want this and that. Hey, daddy's rich, not you.
Yes,
right?
trust me.
And starting to teach kids that just because the parents have money doesn't mean they're entitled. Because I actually have some younger clients that I've worked with. I'll say, well, let's look at your assets. And they have listed down mommy and daddy's inheritance, 1.5 million. I'm like, you know when you're going to receive that? No, but eventually. Do you know that they're going to be solvent when they die? Well, no, but should I take that off? Yeah, you might want to. Like, right? We don't need to be one, unless we really hate our parents. Probably don't want to be wishing an early departure, right?
Exactly.
Doesn't look good.
Goodness.
But so there are people that's the mindset. I was working with the person who was really frustrated, hated their mom, but their mom financed their entire lifestyle, right? And they're adults. And we finally realized they didn't want to give up the lifestyle. I said, well, then maybe you can just learn to stop being mad at your mom, because you're taking all the money and you have no problem with that. So why are you punishing her for making it available? Maybe you can make peace with that.
Yeah.
Because you certainly don't want to give up the money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dave,
Man, you hit on so many points, Ricky. That was a great question. Now that so I want to say, would I say the first for my family? My dad owns, well, not in the States, but in Jamaica, he owns property and stuff like that. But we were never that generational wealth. In the islands, it's kind of different because your family has a house and it's passed on, and we don't understand the tax in it. But what you talked about here, the appreciation of the house and how the strategy of using not putting your name on the house or using the trust to dampen that tax once the parent pass on and they give you that all that real estate. If it's $10 million, if it's not set up right, you have $10 million worth of taxes that that you have to pay for. Assets that's valued at 10 million that you have to pay for, whatever the percentage is. What would you say? I know trusts in different states are different. What would you say is your most friendliest states when it comes to trust? How to set up a trust? Also, revocable, irrevocable. What kind of trust do you want? Do you think we should get in? Say a person like myself, I have some real estate. I have some companies. I have stuff that I have right now, and I want to set up a trust. Where should I set it up? And should I do it irrevocable, revocable? How hard is it to maneuver through those different kind of trusts?
So typically, it makes sense to do the trust in the state you live in, because state law is gonna dictate anyway.
Yeah.
There are some states where they don't.
Can I put a caveat to that?
Yeah.
What if I, like myself, I own a home. I own home in like many different states.
Montana,
so not just
Utah.
Right, now you're bragging. Now you're bragging. Okay.
No. Because somebody might come to you. I'm giving the scenario of a lot of different. Like you said, typically it's better to set up in. But for a person that comes that says, I'm in the military, that's why I have. It's not because anything's. I'm no financial guru guy. I'm in the military, so I just had a scheme that said every place the military put me, I bought a home and I kept it.
But when you're in the military, you have to declare a home state.
Yes, my home state is New York.
Right. So the thing is,
I don't want the taxes from New York.
Yeah, well, New York is worse than California, so they compete with each other. Who can punish people the most? So the thing is, like certain states, like Tennessee doesn't do a trust. They don't do certain things the way that they do in California or the way they work in Florida. So it's your home state. And that's probably where you have most of your property, not always. But your home state is really going to dictate, because if you've got a spouse, if whoever your beneficiaries are, you're going to want to, the state law in your home state is going to dictate a lot of the things anyway. Most people, if you're going to get a trust, it's going to be a living trust. Most of the time it's going to be a revocable trust, because when you die, it's not revocable, right? Because you're dead. You can't go back and say, wait, change this, because you're gone. You want revocable up until the last possible minute.
Gotcha.
Because you might decide, wife number 7 should get all the money. Or maybe wife number 4 was pretty good. No, I don't know. But you want to look at state law, because some states, community property states. And so if I'm setting up,
North Carolina.
And this is important. If if somebody, I've had this happen where second or third marriage, and the wife has a rental property, and the husband's like, sell that property and we'll just spend. No, just keep that in a separate bank account. In California, if you keep that separate and don't let the other partner pay the mortgage or anything like that, that is your sole and separate property. So that if the marriage ends up becoming the fifth one, you get to keep your property, right? But if it had gotten commingled, in a lot of states, especially community property states, now it's marital assets instead of sole and separate.
Wow.
Yeah. So you see, there's so much. That's the financial literacy part that you're talking about, because a lot of people think it's okay. I go to work, I save my money, I have
budget
$10,000 in the bank account, and that's my financial literacy portion. And now I'm good. And I go to work and I work until I'm 65 for my 401k, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
But they don't understand all that you're saying right there. And you said a key thing too. You don't like real estate, but what I noticed that a lot of times when you talk about that financial wealth, your example is real estate.
Yeah.
So
I don't like collecting the rent and being the bad person, because I'm always like, no, you can pay next month.
You got to separate yourself. You got to separate yourself with that with a property manager. Have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I go back into it, because I'm taking a break, but when I go back in, I will make sure that I have people that will be the mean person, legally. But knowing that that's not my strength, knowing that I'm going to be a softie means I'm not the one that should be doing the rent collecting or setting the rules. I have to have somebody else come in and be the non-emotional, unattached person.
It's so funny you say that. I tell you guys a story. Marlon and I, we have, we shared with everyone. We have a property, and whenever we go there, the tenant thinks that we're the maintenance men, right?
Let them think it.
Exactly. So are you maintenance? I'm like, yeah. I'm maintenance. Yeah. Like, okay, well, we need to fix this and fix that. Okay, all right. Well, I'll let my guys know, man. It should be back. I'll let the team know. We should get back and take care of it. But it's never. I don't want them to know who I am. You're right. You just want to go in and out, and that's it, right?
That's very smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. We have a property manager, but we go on there just to check on stuff ourselves. And like Rick said, they're like, hey, you guys in here? Are you guys the one that's going to look at the XYZ? We're like, yeah.
We'll look at it. Yeah.
Take care of it. But
that's great.
Listen, Bob, I want to ask you two more questions. One is, I know you mentioned it earlier in the show, where people can find more information about you. So I want to make sure you share that and any materials that you have, workshops, books, all that kind of things. You started mentioning the children's book, of course. And then the second question, I'll wait till you do that. Then I have a second follow-up question will be my last question, and Marlon can have a question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find all my information at the moneynerve.com, moneynerve.com, not nerd, nerve. That's got my CPA firm. It's got the workshop. It's got the books. It's got an online course on mastering the emotions of money. There's a lot of free resources there. Certainly there's information about both books that I have. And we just, people have a question. We love to help people. And there's no dumb questions, and questions are free. So ask away.
Love it. So you guys go moneynerve.com. One other question I have, and I love for you to, in some of our shows, we'll ask the guests to go back to a certain point in life and kind of in reflection now, like talk to that person, then knowing what you know now. But for you, I want to ask a different question around it. I want you to talk to that person that is in their mid to late 30s. As I'm saying now, I'm like, I'm in my late 30s. It's not me, all right? Let's say 40.
I'm not talking to you.
Say mid 40s. That's Marlon's range.
That's me.
and they are like, they don't see a path forward.
Yeah,
Bob. They lived 40 years of their life, and they're like, man, I'm 45 now. I'm bald, and Yeah, you got a red hoodie on, at night. And what do I do? Like I'm really I don't feel like I have my retirement set up correctly. I feel like all is lost. Like I am that guy that, forget all of it. I'm buying drinks for everyone. Like how do you talk to that man or that woman at that point?
Well, the first thing I say is it's never too late, right? It's never too late to get started. What's important is just get started. You didn't get in that situation overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. And so to expect immediate results, if I have the mantra, I want $1 million and it's going to happen in 5 minutes, it's not. It's just not. But be willing to do the work, be willing to be uncomfortable, be willing to take a hard look at yourself and decide what's working and not working, and decide if you're willing to let go of your story so that you can actually have the life you want. Because we all have a story.
Wow.
Your story has a cost. And the question is, do I want a different story that serves me better?
Your story has a cost. I love that.
Wow.
That's your next book, Bob.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or if I write it first.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say. That
Well, then your story will have a
tomorrow.
cost because I'll play this video.
Yeah. Hey, didn't I tell you we can edit everything out in the beginning?
I'm secretly recording.
Barlow, you have any other questions, man? Any closing questions?
No, man. Just so I know, what part of California you're in?
Los Angeles, West LA.
Okay. Yeah, I used to live in Temecula.
Okay. Yeah.
I made a
Down
bad
a little
decision.
Good
Yeah.
wine. Okay.
I made a bad decision. Wine country. Yep.
Yep.
Wine country. I made a bad decision and sold my house out there before I came. Yes.
Did I mention real estate is a really good investment, especially in California? Oh, that's painful.
I'm writing that book tomorrow, Bob. I'm writing.
That's painful. I gotta tell you, Marlon, that's painful.
Oh, man.
All right.
Man. But hey, Bob, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, just getting to know you, talking with you today. I tell you, guests, travelers, man, if you're not having a good time, man, it's bad on you, man. Too bad on you, because me and Marlon are having a blast with this stuff. The amount of notes that I took tonight, just even for my own personal gain, I hope you guys had your notebook out. And if you didn't, hey, rewind, go back, listen to it again, take some notes. Go to Bob's website, muddynerve.com, and check out all his resources that he has, his books, and really not just support him, but support yourself and your future, and not just your immediate future, but even for your kids. If you're like me and you don't want the kids to get a dog yet, just get them the book for about the dog, right? So,
That's right.
Bob, man, thank you again so much. Really appreciate you, and all of our travelers and listeners around the world. We will see you next time at the same place on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
All right, one love.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.